Looking for a cosmic adventure like no other? Zatswan, Multiversal Guardian is a high-stakes comic book journey through the multiverse with stunning art and an unforgettable hero. Get your copy today in ebook and paperback formats. Link in the description.
Hi everybody, this is Neil Allen, the comic creator behind Zatswan, Multiversal Guardian, which you can purchase on Amazon.com. And interestingly enough, that is exactly where I'm at right now. This is the Amazon page for Zatswan, and interestingly, I got a review that I want to talk about because it's really interesting. It's a good review. The person enjoyed the comic. Thank you, thank you, Deckard, for buying and reviewing the book. Again, this isn't to call out anybody or put them on blast. I just kind of like discussion and conversation, and if I see something that's interesting to me, or it's actually kind of a plus, if somebody says something that I think is interesting and worth talking about, well then I don't see why we shouldn't talk about it. So let's read this review. This is a graphic novel, not a single comic book, and follows an entire story arc. The artwork is bright and quirky, befitting the medium. If the characters can be equated with an established superhero franchise, it would be Green Lantern and or the Green Lantern Corps. Here comes the interesting part. There is racial diversity in the characters, yet even in the cosmic realm, the dreamed about, ideal female character desired by the male lead is still a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian. And this tickled me because this person, Deckard, was really pouring it on here. Even in the cosmic realm, the dreamed about, ideal female character desired by the male lead is still a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian. So I think the implication here is that Zatswan is a good comic book that is a fun ride. It has racial diversity, but it didn't go far enough because the female lead is still the stereotypical idealized blonde woman. So let's actually take a look at Zatswan. Let me move this out the way. Let's take a look at it right here. So let's turn to the back of this so we could get a good look at the characters. Okay, so here's our idealized, dreamed about blonde goddess in the back of the book, and here's our racially diverse lead character. Okay, so I get what Deckard is saying here. It's presented nobly, but I think what I want to counter with is while this has the guise of being kind of noble, and that was probably the intention, I think that it's actually not that noble. So yeah, Deckard's saying, you got the racial diversity, but it's a missed opportunity to present the desired female lead as this stereotypical white blonde girl. And okay, I get that. Zatswan's making some strides, but it's not going far enough. I get that, but you actually know how I kind of see this, and I don't know that this was the intention, but I do think that it's something worth mentioning because it's something that's come up in discussion fairly often, kind of recently. Policing a black man's love interest, or if you want to be a bit more crass about it, policing a black man's dick. This is something that so many people love to do, and it's kind of weird. It's like everybody seems to love to do this. They've loved to do it for hundreds of years. White people love doing it. Black people love doing it. They've always loved doing it, and it's just something that we're kind of just getting out of comics here. This is just something that black men deal with, just in life, from various people, other black men, definitely black women, definitely white men. Of course, not everybody in these groups of, probably the great majority of people like do not really care that much, but a lot of people do care, and it's this particular group in particular, black men, that are faced with this sort of policing more than anybody. So while, I kind of get what Deckard is saying is that, it could have been more diverse, there seems to be an implication here that, I could be kind of wrong, but there does seem to be like a bit of an implication. If the character is black, if the lead is black, why isn't the princess black? Like, would you really have said this, Deckard? Would you really have said, there is racial diversity in the characters, yet even in the cosmic realm, the dreamed about ideal female character desired by the male lead is still a blonde hair, blue eyed Caucasian? Like, would you have brought this out if the lead character was a Caucasian as well? I really doubt it. But because the lead character is not, it's worth mentioning somehow that his love interest is. But the interesting thing to me is it's not necessarily put in a positive light, it's kind of put in a negative one. So, I know that this has sort of the veneer of being a like noble comment saying that diversity can still go farther. There is another way that we can look at it too, which is that um he needs to be especially policed as far as his romantic interest is concerned. And I think that is something that is not particularly good. Do you know what I mean? This is at least another side of the coin that's worth looking at. Like, I'm interested in hearing what people think about this in the comment section. Um, like that's another thing that we have to like consider too. Like, oh, we get diversity, but it's not my type of diversity, or it's not the type of diversity that I would like, so it doesn't count as much. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's something that I think we need to look at as well. Like, just because it might not be the configuration that you may personally be into, that doesn't invalidate it as far as, being meaningful representation. Um, I still see this as very meaningful representation. You have an interracial relationship going on, which um, between a mixed dude and a white looking woman. That's out there. That's in the world. People are literally living that lifestyle. People are, living that experience. So it doesn't make it more valid somehow if she was like black. That's not somehow greater diversity. It's just different diversity. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, I kind of do really, there's something a bit validating. Uh, Weirdly enough, there's something a bit validating about kind of the, I don't know if confusion is the right word, but there's something a bit validating about this being pointed out, because I do think that Zatswan is a thing that, and this isn't necessarily wrong, but it's a thing that confuses people. I've seen it confuse like black people, and I've seen it confuse white people. And you would think that something that's confusing like this is bad, but I don't particularly see it that way. Um, because I could kind of get into like how it confuses people. For example, some black people, and I don't know much about the reviewer. I don't know their background or anything, but they think that because you have a black character here, um, like the whole world needs to turn black, and if it doesn't, it's kind of weird. Um, And I think even some white people think that too. Like, well, if this character is black, why isn't his love interest black? Why isn't everybody around him black? And I think why it's kind of validating that this is somewhat confusing is because actually Zatswan, they're used to their perspective and the way that they kind of make sense of the world, these people. But Zatswan actually puts forth a different perspective, which is this came from the imaginings of actually a mixed person. And mixed people are confusing to a lot of people. And a lot of people aren't necessarily used to seeing our perspective. So there's something weirdly validating about some aspects of the comic being a bit confusing to people. Do you kind of know what I mean? Because mixed people, too many are they themselves a conundrum, kind of confusing. And a lot of people don't really understand our perspective that well because they're not often presented with it. But why that's kind of validating is because I think that the people who do really get this, they will see this and really, really, really understand it and really, really, really get it. Um, and, like kind of like feel validated, from seeing that. But I mean, there is a lot to talk about, like in regards to stuff like this. But what I will say is that even though these are like highly interesting topics that I do think make a really big difference in like in the comic book, like I'm not gonna downplay like what we have going on here and like what I've been discussing, but honestly, this type of stuff as of yet in Zatswan does not affect the actual plot and the story at all. Like I do think it is important, like the identities of the characters here. I do think that matters a lot, but does it actually matter to the story? No, it hasn't yet really. So the thing about it is like none of this stuff like makes like you can have the characters look like this and it's regardless of like the way they look, it's still a really captivating and like really fun comic book, that you should check out. So I would like to thank you for the positive review. And I don't, the thing about it too, again, I want to stress because I know what it could kind of seem like if you get like brought up on the internet by somebody. I want to stress that this isn't like a. I don't want to be. I'm not confrontational here. I'm very appreciative of the comment. Thank you very much. I think that rather than like coming across as confrontational, I like to come across as just somebody who's open to having discussions about these sorts of interesting, very nuanced, and very sensitive topics that I definitely do think are worth discussing, that a lot of people kind of want to shy away from. But anyway, thanks for the comment, and thank you very much for purchasing Zatswan and reviewing the comic. If Zatswan does look like something that will interest you, then please head over to Amazon and purchase it. And feel free to leave a review too. That helps a lot. I really appreciate that. And I will talk to all of you. And also, this is a really interesting topic, so feel free to leave your comments in the comments below and continue the conversation and take part in it. And I'll talk to all of you again very soon, okay? Take care.